Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Dead Malls, your one home for the most groovy mall explorations and everything retail related. In today's trip, we begin our next major expedition, leaving the more populous and well-known region of Dead Malls in the eastern US, and beginning a new southerly chapter. A second Texas expedition. Starting us off though, we begin with a mall that I had been dying to check out for years, the slowly dying Westridge Mall in Topeka, Kansas. Yet another mall that was doing well a few years ago, but like so many in this deteriorating country, just can't keep its gargantuan space filled, and in turn is losing tenants like dominoes. But before I spoil any of today's walkthrough, I want to take a moment and shout out our winner, who was able to successfully guess the next mall. Very nice job, Noah Voris. If you would like to have your chance of being shouted out in the next episode, be sure to stick around for the next challenge. Anyways, let's take a little loop around the parking lot, begin with the history, then head in and tell the story of Topeka's once bright icon on the west side. Our story begins as early as August of 1981, when this giant sea of parking was just cornfields as far as the eye could see. In Topeka, Kansas, mall developers Melvin Simon and Associates were looking into and planning a new major regional mall for the west side of town, near I-470. A massive new shopping center, which would replace the city's aging White Lakes Mall and become the new dominant shopping hub. Originally, there were two sites where this new mall was to be built, either where the future Hypermart USA and Sam's Club are now, or at the corner of 21st Street and Wanamaker Road. The latter would be chosen in 1985, requiring miles of two-lane roads to be repaved into new four-lane avenues. Westridge Mall, as it would come to be known, would quickly begin construction in October of 1986. At the time, the west side of Topeka consisted merely of a few suburbs and cornfields, but the new mall with its 2 floors of shopping, 4 anchors, and over 140 stores was going to change the city forever. First impressions can make or break a mall, and I have to say, when walking into Westridge, I was very impressed by just how clean and well lit it was in here. Of course, there's some ungodly second floor carpeting, but at least it's very well kept. The second impression was shock, as I was shocked at just how empty this mall was. There's a decent amount of people walking around and some stores open here and there, but a trend that you'll see throughout tonight's video is how outside of these pockets of civilization is gated off store after gated off store, and it gets very surreal very quickly. come back to the second floor later on, but let's start here by exploring the first, and seeing some of the old 90s style storefronts which once populated the lower level. Speaking of old stores though, that mirrored deb up there, that's gotta be one of the last original storefronts left, right? We're also going to watch a short scene from a movie later on, which was filmed inside of this mall in the early 90s. And it truly is mind-blowing at just how much more vibrant and full of life Westridge used to be. Tens of thousands gathered in attendance on Wednesday, March 2nd, 1988, where new mall managers, officials from Simon, and Vanna White herself cut the teal ribbon, dedicating and officially opening Topeka's newest mall. Balloons that were strung up in the dozens of skylights would then drop, and throughout the courts, celebrations would continue for days. Westridge Mall, as shoppers came to find, was an 80s aesthetics wonderland, a celebrated marvel in its time of modern architecture, and very much so a timepiece. The mall itself was coated in salmon-colored tiles and adorned in neons, which elegantly flowed through the arches in the ceilings, lined the food court, and lit up the many different palm trees which dotted the corridors. When it was dark out, of course. If that wasn't the case, then Westridge's many skylights flooded the courts with plentiful amounts of sunlight. Stores to open with the mall included Bachman's, Foot Locker, Sub and Stuff, Bressler's, Burger King, Team Spirit, Kinney Shoes, and Coach House Gifts. There was even a 6-screen theater called Westridge 6, which opened underneath the food court and featured a Baskin-Robbins in the lobby. While white drywalls and construction barriers blocked off much of what was still coming, Westridge would very quickly fill up and find its niche with many Topekans, not just as a shopping destination, but a third space. Dillard's, Sears, and the Jones store would be among the mall's first 3 anchors to open, with the first 2 moving from their downtown locations and beginning a trend where many downtown businesses were forced to move westward, and usually into the mall, as downtown business and foot traffic seemed to die overnight. Later that fall, in October of 1988, JCPenney would close their doors at White Lakes, opening as the new 4th anchor at Westridge, snuggled neatly into the mall's L-shaped layout. JCPenney and Sears closing at White Lakes would begin the death spiral which fully killed that mall. But Westridge, well, it had many years of success to look forward to, and expansions which were already becoming reality. Here we have an old Gymboree, a brand I personally don't have any memories of myself, but always seem to find the remains of all over these dead regional malls. This one probably remains the most untouched though. Super cool. These amazing round skylights, along with the accompanying second floor balconies, were such a treat to get lost in. This mall is actually so much bigger on the inside than it looks from the outside, and you can really feel the sense of scale when you're walking around through here and then suddenly you're dwarfed by these giant rotundas. Coming up after the JCPenney though, I found this colorful glass-clad storefront with all of these red and blue and yellow designs, which of course are staple colors of an old KB Toys. I'm not 100% sure on that assumption though. It looks like the space was used as a play place for a short time, but let me know down below in the comments. Was this the old KB Toys?
Like a KB Toys.
In 1990, Montgomery Ward, the last department store in downtown Topeka, would close its doors, moving to and opening as the new fifth and final anchor of Westridge Mall. By 1990, Westside Topeka was seeing an explosive growth, with the opening of a new 250,000 square foot Hypermart USA just north of the mall, and a new 500,000 square foot Westridge strip mall just south. The mall itself, nestled neatly into the middle, would quickly pick up dozens more stores in the coming years. By 1991, brands to populate the neon-lit halls of Westridge included Belden Jewelers, Zales, Tape World, Suncoast, Software, etc., The Athlete's Foot, The Limited, Deb, Casual Corner, Mr. Bulky, Chick-fil-A, Taco Tico, The Nut Hut, Afterthoughts, Camelot Music, Circus World, Walden Books, KB Toys, and Spencer's Gifts. This is just a tiny cherry picking of a few of my favorites from the directory. The mall itself would fill out at near maximum occupancy through the 90s, without much change. In 1992, it would be used for the filming of the 1993 film Dead Before Dawn, a movie I have been told is just terrible, but it gives a brilliant look into just how vibrant Westridge was in its golden years. That area we just saw with the old Victoria's Secret and Pink stores originally wasn't those two. That space would have at one point been the entrance into the six-screen theaters. But on July 9th, 1993, a new freestanding Westridge 8 theaters would open just outside of the mall, with this new theater owned and operated by Crown Cinemas, whom had previously operated the six-screen inside the mall. They decided to move to their own building in '93 to escape the high rent Simon imposed. Despite management threatening litigation, Crown would go through with it anyway, giving the West Side two different movie theaters to pick from in the 1990s and early 2000s. However, it wouldn't last, with Westridge 6 officially closing its doors on April 21st, 2005. The space would sit empty until 2007, when it was gutted and turned into a Pink and Victoria's Secret. The theater showrooms would later become a Sky Zone trampoline park.
Baby, come to me, all of your dreams come true. I haven't forgot what turns you on. I'll sing you a love song.
what that thing is, what it does, but that makes sense.
We'll head up in just a moment to check out the super cool arcade here, which is actually a good arcade and can rightfully call itself so, unlike some of the other claw machine infested rooms I've ventured into while in these dead malls. But they also got a mini golf place down here on the left, which I guess adds a little more life into the otherwise sterile nature of this Dillard's wing. The second floor of Westridge was a surrealist paradise, as the courts and corridors of the mall stretched on for what felt like miles. And when I whip out my favorite zoom setting 3 times, you can get a feel for yourself at the immense scale and the emptiness which plagues this structure.
This is sick.
The first problems aside from the theaters closing and new big box stores sprouting up all around the mall was its dying anchor names. Montgomery Ward in bankruptcy would close its stores in 2001. The space, briefly used by a museum, would become a Burlington coat factory in 2007. In 2006, the Jones store would become Macy's after the Mays merger, but by the time that the Great Recession reared around, Westridge wasn't really the same vibrant shopping mecca it was all those years ago. New competition had practically blown up the retail saturation all along Wanamaker Road to unreasonable levels, and in turn, foot traffic plummeted at Westridge. Its older, outdated stores closing up shop, coupled with the boom in online shopping, left the mall's outdated corridors emptier by the day. Simon, in one last effort to revamp its image, would hire Wichita-based LK Architecture in 2010 to completely overhaul the mall, stripping the OG tile, palm trees, neons, and the original colors, and giving the current look a warm, wood-accented, modern vibe. Honestly, not a bad look, but nowhere near the original. Stores throughout would renovate their facades through the 2000s and 2010s, and for a brief period with its new looks, Westridge restabilized as a fresh modern shopping hub. But unfortunately, in time, not even new colors could save the sinking ship. The roster of tenants, which had long staked the mall down, would begin to fleet in the early 2010s, beginning with Macy's in 2012. The Furniture Mall of Kansas would open up shop in the old Macy's a year later in 2013. However, a furniture shop isn't necessarily the same as a clothing store, and thus another customer base would be lost. Simon, after 26 years of ownership, would end up selling Westridge Mall, along with 43 of their other malls, on December 31st, 2013, to the Washington Prime Group, a group whose ownership would end up notoriously tanking the dying mall. Oh no, is that a dead mall convenience store that I see? The cliches here, they're just adding up. Welcome to the Westridge Mall Food Court. Here to remind you of what you're missing out on, I'll list just a few of the food stalls which once populated this neon-decked court. Let's see, we once had Steak Escape, Quanois, Original Cookie Company, I Can't Believe It's Yogurt, Chick-fil-A, Burger King, Sparrow's, Topsy's Popcorn, and Garden of Eden. I kinda like that one. Nowadays, we just have drywalls with little murals. I wonder if those old neon-clad eateries still sit behind those drywalls though, or if they've just been stripped. I don't know, the general public sadly won't get to know since management just loves covering their problems rather than fixing. In January of 2018, Burlington Coat Factory, after just over a decade in their space, would vacate. In December of that year, Washington Prime would begin to fail to make payments, and over the course of the next few years, several name brands would in turn close in the mall. Through 2019, Washington Prime was estimated to owe nearly $40 million in payments on the mall. Sears would be the next to go, closing their store in September of 2019, leaving just Dillard's and JCPenney as the mall's sole remaining anchors. By December of 2019, the mall would go into foreclosure, with a joint venture of Woodmont and Wells Fargo buying it for $27 million, acquiring all of its debt. For a few years, they would attempt to sell it, eventually selling it to Kohan in 2021. However, by then, Westridge was a ghost town, hollowed out by the pandemic. Kohan, those scumbags that they are, would ride what little was left of Westridge further into the ground, before selling it in September of 2023 to a company called Advisors Excel, who currently plans to gut most of the empty space, and renovate it into new offices and shopping areas. In 2024, with this new ownership, a surge of new second-hand tenants have begun to fill the space at Westridge. However, as you can see throughout most of this video, the mall pretty much remains a giant empty shell, and a silent reminder of the better times. And that brings us to where we are today. As of 2024, Westridge sits in a limbo state, awaiting a new renovation and a new life, but stuck as you see it today, a big dead mall. Who knows if these fancy drawings will ever end up becoming reality? As of November 2024, work has yet to begin, and Westridge Mall remains a mall. So if any of you are ever in the area, I highly recommend stopping by, and like me, get lost in the architecture. Coming up here on the left, I look inside of an old mirrored storefront with red and yellow and tons of colors on the inside, and it really doesn't look like anything was taken out aside from the stock. I think maybe it could have been an old Mr. Bulky, but I have no clue. That's literally just a guess based on its similar colors to the Northridge store. Let me know down below though, what was this super 80s looking store? Pause, because right here, I just unknowingly recreated the same walk Cheryl Ladd's character does when she meets up with her friend outside of the salon. And all of these years later, we can still see faint reminders of the older style stores which once populated the corridors. Westridge was literally the poster child 80s mall, and it depresses the hell out of me that all these years later, all we have are beige and carpets. It's a real far cry. But you know what, I gotta take a moment to appreciate the hard work that the custodians are doing to keep this place nice and shiny. Seriously, when I saw that lady cleaning up the old Deb facade, I almost shed a tear. You gotta love seeing malls getting properly cared for. Folks, if you made it this far, I want to thank you so much for watching all the way through tonight's episode. Westridge Mall was an absolutely surreal mall to experience, a forgotten palace of leisure and luxury left to ruin, yet still retaining dozens of scars of its past. If any of you are ever in the area, stop by, support some of the local businesses here, and enjoy the mall's warm, sunny atmosphere. If you enjoy my Dead Mall videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on future episodes. And if you'd like to support me further, consider checking out the Patreon for sneak peeks of future videos, malls never before seen on the channel, and loads of bonus content. Next week we'll be live streaming, but 2 weeks from now, on November 16th, we'll be back once again, this time to begin our next adventure in Kansas, a mall which has, as of recently, notoriously been left without power repeatedly due to some neglectful owners. Guess which mall we'll be at, and I'll shout you out in the next episode. But until then, have yourselves a lovely evening, and peace out guys. See you later.